Good morning, all. In the last lecture, we have learned about Industrial Policy 1948 and 56. So today we learn 1991, IPR 1991. So in 1991, government was or the Indian economy was experiencing a severe crisis. That is, before 1991, there were so many restrictions regarding the industries. The industrial sector in India was facing so many restrictions, and there were so many issues in our industrial sector. And so our economy was not in a good shape. So during 1990s, during early 1990s, Government of India has introduced some new economic reforms. All such reforms which were introduced since 1991 are called new economic reforms or new economic policy. The initiative or this particular policy was put forward by the Indian government in order to pull the country out of the economic crisis which it was facing and to accelerate the rate of growth of the Indian economy, or the government wanted to take India to a path in which there was rapid and uh, rapid and consistent growth. Okay, industrial growth. So government wanted to ensure rapid growth of Indian economy. For that, it introduced new economic reforms. And the keys to this new economic reforms were liberalization, privatization, and globalization, which we call as LPG. So these three terms are very important for an economic when we learn economy, when we learn about Indian economy. Okay, or we can say that the Indian economy or the growth of Indian economy actually was made just because of these three initiatives or these three keywords were the reason for the growth of Indian economy after 1990s. Okay, and so the center for this particular reforms was the new industrial policy introduced by the government on July 1991. Okay, on July 1991, the government come up with the next industrial policy, that is IPR 1991. That actually was the center for all the economic reforms which were put forward by the government after 1991. There were so many reforms introduced. For all of those reforms, the base or the foundation was this particular IPR 1991. Okay, so we have to learn about industrial policy 1991 and economic reforms, new economic reforms or new economic policy. These two topics are there in our syllabus, and these two topics are very important. They are essay questions. Usually either of these questions will be asked as an essay question in all the exams. Okay, in every year any of these questions is asked. So, and the main thing is it is very easy. If you learn industrial policy 1991, it will be easy to learn economic reforms. Both are interconnected. Okay, so first we will see what is industrial policy 1991. So the new industrial policy was introduced or was announced by the government on July 24, 1991. In this particular policy actually shifted the emphasis from regulation to development. That is, since 1991, there were so many regulations, or the government was focusing more on regulations. But after IPR 1991, the emphasis shifted from regulations to development. That is, as we said, all the reforms were introduced by the government in order to accelerate the growth, or it wanted the Indian economy to develop in a very rapid and constant manner. Okay, so the emphasis was shifted from regulation to development. Then liberalized industrial policy. That is, this particular policy, 1991 policy, was much liberal when you consider the previous policies. That is 1948, 56. Then those two policies we have learned. There are some more policies before 1991. That is the one in 1977, then 1980. There were some policies introduced. Those policies are not there in our syllabus, so I'm not talking about them. So all those policies were not as liberal as 1991 policy. Okay, so this was a very liberal policy. So many regulations which existed in the industrial sector were taken off in this policy. Then this policy aims to raise the industrial efficiency to an international level. Okay, that is the competition. More competition was introduced into the Indian market, and definitely because of more competition, the efficiency will increase. The industrial efficiency will increase because our players, our companies will start to compete with international companies, international firms, and so for their existence, they will have to increase their efficiency. So they will try for more efficiency, more productivity. Okay, all these things will accelerate the industrial growth in India. Then, as part of the policy, the role of public sector has been redefined. That is, since 1991, a lot of emphasis was given to the public sector. Or public sector had the responsibility for the growth of Indian economy, industrialization of Indian economy. But that was a little bit shifted, or that was changed actually, because until then private sector had so many restrictions, but in 1991 policy, private sector was welcomed in major industries where uh, um, till then they were restricted, or so many of the major industries were reserved for the public sector. So in 1991 policy, private sector was welcomed into those sectors as well. Okay, that was a major shift that happened during 1991. Okay, then coming to the objectives of 1991 policy, the main objective of this policy was to liberalize the Indian industrial economy from administrative and legal controls. We have already said, that is deregulation, or the government started taking off so many restrictions, so many regulations which were there in the Indian economy until 1991. So this policy intended to liberalize the Indian economy. As we have already said, new economic reforms, the three keys to new economic reforms were liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Liberalization means so many restrictions were taken off. The economy became more liberal, more free. Okay, so liberalization was one of the keys, and so definitely the major objective of this policy, that is IPR 1991, was to liberalize the Indian industrial economy from administrative and legal controls. So many legal controls, so many acts were there which restricted the growth. Such acts were taken off, or those acts were were made more like more liberal, or the strict regulations were taken off, whereas some liberal regulations came up. Okay, so the legal controls were taken off, and then the administrative controls were also reduced. Okay, all the controls were not completely avoided, but they were reduced so that the growth can be accelerated. Okay, then some of the other objectives were to build on the gains already experienced. That is, India got freedom in 1947. After that, the government was trying to make India more industrial, or it wanted to improve the industrial growth of India. Okay, as we have already discussed, before independence, the industrial sector was not in a very good shape, or Indian industries were in a very poor condition. So government wanted to bring up that. For that, so many measures were introduced, so many industrial policies were introduced, and as a result of these policies, there were some gains were already made. So the government wanted to build on those gains which were already made through all the policies until 1990. Okay, so this policy wanted to build on the gains of already made. Then next point is to correct the distortions involved in the system. That is, there were so many distortions, so there were so many mistakes that happened, there were so many issues in the system. That is the reason why our economy was in a severe crisis. Okay, our economy was in a very, very, very bad shape. We had so many issues, like our foreign reserves were all depleted. We were in a very bad shape that we didn't have even the money, even we didn't have even the foreign reserves for facilitating just 2 more weeks import. We didn't have enough reserves to pay for the next 2 weeks import. That was the condition we were in. Okay, that much bad our economy was, or we didn't have any kind of loans available. And all the NRIs were taking back their money. They were all withdrawing their investments or their deposits in India, their funds from India, because nobody had trust, nobody had confidence in Indian economy. So the government wanted to change all the situation, or it wanted to correct all the mistakes that were there in the system. So to correct the distortions involved in the system, that is another aim of this particular industrial policy. Then the next one is to introduce liberalization measures in order to integrate Indian economy with world economy. That is, there were so many restrictions regarding foreign investment or regarding import, export, and regarding our companies going to foreign market, or foreign companies coming to our Indian market. Okay, there were so many restrictions regarding all these things. So it was proved that such restrictions were not good for the growth of our economy. So many liberalization measures were introduced to integrate, or for integration of Indian economy with the global economy. Okay. The next point is to abolish restrictions on foreign direct investments. That is already mentioned, right? That is, the foreign direct investments were restricted. Only some portion, or it was mentioned that the major stake should be with the Indians. Okay, foreign investments should not be about more than this much percentage in some particular kind of industry, and in some particular kind of industry, even that much foreign investment was not allowed. So this, like that, so many restrictions were there regarding foreign investments. Such restrictions were also taken off. Okay. Then comes development and utilization of indigenous capabilities in technology and manufacturing. That is, we had already developed some indigenous capabilities regarding technology and manufacturing. Indigenous capability means those capabilities that were developed in India. Okay, in India itself, not something that we got from some other country, but something that is developed within the country, within our local area. That is called as indigenous capabilities. So, in this particular policy, importance was given to indigenous enterprises. Okay, so it actually stood for the development, the growth of indigenous enterprises. So it wanted development and utilization of indigenous capabilities in technology and manufacturing. The restrictions regarding such indigenous enterprises were taken off. Something like some acts were there, like MRTP Act and all, which restricted, or which was there for avoiding monopolies. Such acts actually hindered the growth of industries, some companies. So that act was the restrictions from that particular act was also liberalized. Okay, so such liberalization measures were introduced in order to ensure the growth or development of indigenous enterprises, or to develop the indigenous capabilities in technology and manufacturing. Then next point is to maintain a sustained growth in productivity and employment. Okay, to maintain sustained growth, to ensure consistent growth in productivity and employment. Unemployment should be avoided. That was a major aim of this particular policy. Then to achieve international competitiveness, that is, we wanted to make our companies compete with the international or global companies, or we wanted to make sure that the standard of our products and services, our companies' products and services should be raised to an international level. Okay, it should be in par with the international companies' products and services. So that was another major objective of this particular policy. Okay, so these are the objectives of this particular policy. So now let's see what are the major features of Industrial Policy 1991, or what are the areas or aspects in which the IPR 1991 has brought about changes. Okay, so the first one is Industrial Delicensing Policy. Okay, so actually this is the most important part of NIP or IPR 1991, because this brought about, or this ended the licensing system which was existing at that time. Okay, that is, at that time, if a person wants to start a company, he'll have to take a license, and this is a very long process. That is, it is a tedious job. It takes a lot of time, or it actually wastes a lot of time. So this IPR 1991 ended this. Okay, ended this licensing system, or we can call it as license Raj. Okay, that came to an end by IPR 1991. This actually helped to reduce red tapeism to a large extent. Okay, so now it's easy for a person to start a new company. It is not only easy for a person to start a new company, but also before this IPR 1991, if a person wanted to start a new company, or if an existing company wanted to make a substantial expansion, then it needed to take a license. So with this IPR 1991, both these issues was almost abandoned. Okay, that is, except a few industries which were related to national security, or which are of strategic concerns, or some industries which are which is causing any kind of environmental issues or environmental degradation, or which are which are hazardous in nature. So only such industries, or very few industries, that is almost around 18 industries, only those industries needed to take a license for setting up or for substantial expansion of existing units. Okay, all other industries were made free from this licensing policy. Now they were free to start or expand. Okay, so that is a major feature of 1991 policy. Then the second feature is de-reservation of industries for public sector. That is, actually, until 1991, public sector was considered as a tool for rapid industrialization. Okay, that is, till then government was thinking, or government was considering that it is through public sector companies that we are going to achieve rapid industrial development. But this didn't work. It actually failed to do this job. So, most of the public sector companies were functioning in such a manner that it was almost a symbol of inefficiency. Okay, and they were actually becoming a very big burden to the government, because most of the public sector companies, at least a good number of public sector companies, were incurring losses, and they were becoming burden to the government. The resources that were there with the state, with the government, was very much strained because of these inefficient, non-performing public sector companies. Okay, so the government wanted to bring about a change to this issue. Okay, so the new industrial policy tried to limit the role of public sector, and it actually tried to encourage the private sector participation. Okay, encourage private sector companies. For that, for improving our industrial growth, some initiatives were taken or put forward through this particular industrial policy. One is reduce reservation for public sector. That is, until then, a very good number of industries were reserved for public sector, and the public sector companies in those sectors were not performing well. Okay, so this number of industries which were reserved for the public sector under previous industrial policies were de-reserved. Okay, that is, many of the industries were made open to the private sector companies. Now only very few sectors like defense or atomic energy, then railway, minerals, all such very few sectors were now reserved for public sector. Okay, exclusively for public sector companies. But however, if needed, actually, this these areas or these sectors which were now reserved for, now in the sense in 1991, it was reserved for public sector, can also be open for the private sector if the situation demands. Okay, and at the same time, the public sector companies can start their units in the areas which were open for the private sector. Okay, that is also possible. So the number of industries which were exclusively reserved for private sector was reduced, but public sector and private sector can start companies in other areas. Okay, and this industries which were exclusively reserved for the public sector may be open for the private sector in future if the situation demands. Okay, that is a de-reservation, or that is how the reservation for public sector was reduced in the IPR 1991. Then another thing related to public sector companies was the effort to revive loss-making enterprises. That is, those public sector companies which were sick, okay, which were persistent in making losses, okay, they were which were continuously making losses, would be sent to, or would be considered by the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. Okay, BIFR, Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. This BIFR will consider, or those public sector companies which are sick, which are making losses consistently, will be referred to BIFR or similar other high level institutions created for this purpose. Okay, so such institutions will formulate a scheme for the rehabilitation and revival of such sick industrial units. Another initiative regarding public sector companies was that the disinvestment of selected public sector companies, industrial units. Okay, that is, as a measure to raise finance, or raise capital, and also to ensure private participation in public sector companies. What the government will do is, government will sell its shares. Okay, the government will will sell the shares of public sector companies to the public or to the workers. Okay, and thus it can raise money. Okay, that was another initiative. That is disinvestment in public sector units. The government would sell the public sector unit or the public sector company's shares to the public or to the workers, so that it can raise fund as well as can ensure private participation in public sector companies. Then another initiative was greater autonomy to the public enterprises. That is, IPR 1991 tried to give greater autonomy to public sector enterprises regarding their day-to-day operations. Okay, so that is regarding day-to-day working, they don't have to go to the government or don't have to consult with the ministry. The management of that public sector company can take decisions by itself regarding its day-to-day working. Okay, so more autonomy was given, and along with greater autonomy comes more accountability. Okay, they were the management was given more importance. They were accountable. That is, they can take decisions by themselves, and they should make sure that they perform well. Okay, they are functioning well and they are making profits. Okay, that was given more importance. Next feature is liberalized policy towards foreign capital and technology. The inflow of foreign capital as well as the foreign technology was under strict regulations in the previous industrial policies. Okay, that is, if we have to, we need foreign investment, or we are going to accept foreign investment, then we have to get clearance from the government in advance. Okay, then only we can accept foreign investment. And not only that, if you, even if we are having foreign investment in our company, it should be less than the 50%, or it should, we must ensure that the ownership of the company is with Indians. Okay, ownership and control is with the Indians only. Okay, that should be ensured. So such restrictions actually affected the inflow of foreign capital. That is, the foreign capital inflow was very low due to these restrictions. And also, because of that, the industrial development suffered a lot, because we didn't have enough capital, we didn't have enough technology. Okay, so industrial growth was very low because of these reasons. So this 1991 policy brought about several concessions. That it was aimed to encourage flow of capital, foreign capital as well as technology to India. Okay, some of the initiatives were relaxation in upper limit of foreign investment, then automatic permission of foreign technology agreement, etc. That is, relaxation in upper limit of foreign investment means the maximum limit of foreign equity participation. Okay, maximum limit of foreign equity participation. That is, the maximum limit to which foreigners can buy shares, or foreign investment in shares. Okay, shares of a particular company can be up to 51% in certain industries. And in certain other industries, it was allowed up to 74%. Okay, foreign direct investment was also further liberalized. Okay, now 100% foreign equity is permitted in certain areas where high investment is required, and we are not able to make such huge investments. Okay, in such industries, FDI, 100% foreign equity participation, equity investment is allowed. Another important measure was automatic permission of foreign technology agreement. That is, before IPR 1991, uh, technology agreements. If an Indian company wants to make a technology agreement with a foreign company regarding import of technology, then it will have to get advance clearance from the government of India. Okay, so this provision, or this was made. There were made some changes regarding this issue. That is, because of this advance clearance from government, so much of delay was caused regarding import of technology, and because of that, what happened, modernization was delayed, or modernization of industries didn't happen on time. That will definitely affect the productivity and efficiency of Indian companies. Okay, so this delay, in order to reduce this delay, automatic permission was granted to foreign technology agreement. If the payment for the foreign company, that is, if the payment made by the Indian company to the foreign company is less than 1 crore, and the royalty was up to 5% on domestic sales and 8% on export. That is, if the payment for this getting this particular technology is less than 1 crore, then fine, the no automatic approval will get a automatic approval. And also another condition is the royalty on domestic sale should be 5%. That is, we'll say if this much, if we can, before getting the technology, we may agree that whatever we get from domestic sale means whatever we get from selling that particular product in India, 5% of that we'll give to the foreign company. Okay, if it is 5% or less, then we can get automatic approval. And also another condition is if, whatever we are getting from foreign export, okay, the royalty on that also should be less than 8%. Under these conditions, we can get automatic approval from government for foreign technology agreements. Okay, then these are now we have discussed three features. Then the fourth feature is changes in MRTP Act. MRTP, that is Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. That is a very important act. Okay, according to this particular act, big companies and large business houses had so many restrictions. This hindered industrialization or industrial growth in India, and so IPR 1991 tried to reduce it. According to MRTP Act, big business houses required to get clearance from MRTP Commission before they set up a new company, or before they expand, or before they diversify or set up a new company, they had to get clearance from MRTP Commission along with taking license. Okay, so this was actually acting as a problem, or it was hindering the industrialization. Or actually this business houses are the people, or they are the ones who are having enough of resources with them, but they were not allowed to invest it, or they were not allowed to grow fast, or they were not allowed to diversify themselves and make good growth. Okay, so government understood that this is a hindrance, or this is affecting our economy in a bad way, and so this condition was taken off in IPR 1991. Okay, so IPR 1991 allowed big business houses to invest, or they can start companies without prior clearance from MRTP Commission. Okay, so so after 1991, MRTP Act was mainly used, or it was mainly mainly intended to avoid unfair trade practices and restrictive competition and all. Okay, this prior approval issue was taken off. That is about changes in MRTP Act. Then comes the last point, or last feature, the last major feature, that is greater support to small scale industries. Small scale industries were given importance in previous policies as well, but in this policy more importance was given to small scale industry. This IPR 1991 or NIP, actually through NIP, government wanted to support small scale industries, and like they wanted to make the small scale industries economically more efficient, and they also wanted to ensure technological upgradation or modernization of small scale industries. So certain measures were taken in this direction. That is, they made sure that enough of credit is being given to small scale industries, or their credit requirement is met. Okay, the small scale industries may not have enough financial resources for upgradation, or for some marketing purpose and all. For that, they should get enough credit from financial institutions to support themselves. That was ensured. Then another thing is, the large companies were allowed to make investment, or they were allowed to buy shares of small scale industries. Okay, then another initiative was government gave, or government public sector companies, the tools, or the components required for public sector companies were given to, the supply of these components for public sector companies was given to small scale industries. Through all these measures, government tried to make these small scale industries more successful, or to increase the profitability of small scale industries. So these are the main features of IPR 1991. Along with these, some other features are also there, or some other aspects are also included in IPR 1991. One among them is the a particular board called Foreign Investments Promotion Board, FIPB. Foreign Investments Promotion Board, FIPB. Such a board was set up to negotiate with international companies. Okay, that is, this particular board will be negotiating with international companies for making them, or for making direct investment in India. Okay. Then another initiative was National Renewal Fund. Okay, that is, through this IPR 1991, National Renewal Fund, NRF, was set up. It was to provide social security to retrenched workers, or that is the workers who are uh, we have already mentioned about privatization. Okay, public sector companies were privatized, or the more and more private participation was ensured. So when a company becomes a public sector company goes into the hands of private individuals or private parties, what happens is they'll try for improving the profit, and as a result some companies may be shut down, or some companies may be like the number of employees will be cut down. Okay, in that case some employees will lose their job. So the government wanted to ensure the security of such employees, such workers. Okay, for that this National Renewal Fund was set up. Okay, so for the relief and rehabilitation of such retrenched workers, this fund was used. Then NIP also removed mandatory convertibility clause, okay, which the public sector financial institutions were asked to convert the loans given by them to private industries, so private companies, into equity shares. Okay, and thus they will become part of the management. That is, before NIP, or before 1991, if a particular private company is taking loan from a public financial institution, okay, public sector financial institution, and they are not able to pay back the money on time, then what happens? This loan amount that will be converted into equity shares. That is, this financial institution will have stake on this particular private company. So definitely what happens, the private parties or private companies will not be ready to take financial assistance, or they won't take credit from public sector financial institutions, because they think that it will be a big threat for them. Because if they are not able to pay back the money on time, what happens? The management or the control of the company itself will go to the hands of the public sector financial institution. Okay, so that is a big threat for the private companies, and so they were not ready to take that risk. So this was the through IPR 1991, government tried to avoid this issue. Okay, so these are some of the major features of IPR 1991. IPR 1991 is a very important topic. Now we'll see what are the merits of IPR 1991. Okay, the first point is increase in production. That is, we already discussed about foreign investment and foreign technology. That is, in IPA 1991, foreign technology and foreign investment was welcomed. So more inflow of foreign investment and technology, which is actually these are some of the resources that we lack, or that was not available in India. Okay, so when we ensure this inflow, what happens? Naturally, better resources. We are getting more resources, and so definitely our production will improve. Okay, our efficiency will improve. When we modernize, our efficiency improves and our productivity improves. Then next point is promotes liberalization. That is, this policy has attempted to liberalize the economy by removing some hurdles, like administrative controls and legal controls and all, and also it tried to avoid red tapeism and all. Okay, all such bureaucratic hurdles were avoided through this particular policy. So license and all was removed, right? So such things help to promote liberalization, or it actually gave the industries more freedom to expand and to set up. Anyone can set up without much hindrances from the restrictions, or from restrictions put forward by the government. And also the abolition of MRTP Act also has contributed much to this. Okay. Then next is increase in efficiency of public sector. So the reduction of industries reserved for public sector was reduced, as we have already discussed. And so public sector companies had to compete with private sector companies. So what happens? Definitely they will be forced to increase their efficiency. Otherwise they cannot survive. And another thing is more professional management was ensured, and greater autonomy was provided to the public sector companies, that we have already discussed, right? So all these has contributed to increasing efficiency of public sector. Then next one is increase in competition. That is our economy. We integrated our economy with international economy. So what happens? We welcomed, or we allowed multinational companies to come uh, and to come to India, to come to Indian market. So our local companies will have to compete with these international or multinational companies. Another aspect is privatization. So what happens? More private companies started in the same sector. So as I have already said, public sector companies will have to compete with private sector companies as well. Then another thing is these licensing procedures were all reduced, right? So what happens? More and more people can start up companies easily. So all these resulted in high competition. And because of high competition, what happens? Efficiency increases, and finally, who is benefited? Consumers are benefited. Then next point is less economic burden on government. That is, all the public sector companies were incurring losses consistently. Not all, but many of the public sector companies. Okay, so what happens? That is actually a big burden for the government. Government is not getting money, or it is not giving, the public sector companies are not giving income to the government. Not only that, because of these losses they are incurring, government is forced to put in money to this public sector companies. So that was a big burden. So that is reduced now. Then increase in export. Okay, so this new policy, in this new policy, export-oriented units were given so many concessions. That is, some loans were given easily. I mean, it was easy for them to get loans. Then they can set up companies in special economic zones. Then they can import capital goods. That is, they can import things which are required for production. Okay, so for that also there were some concessions given, or such many concessions were given to the export oriented units. Okay, and so because of this, they could increase their productivity. Okay, they could export more. Next point is significance for small scale industries. That is, in NIP, a separate strategy was formulated for the growth of small scale industries. And this strategy actually promoted, or it had measures to promote small scale industries. Government started providing support to small scale industries, even regarding the technological upgradation as well as for capital investment. Okay, so many measures were ensured to improve the productivity, efficiency, and uh, profitability of small scale industries. Then next point is increase in foreign investment. Okay, so NIP, or IPR 1991 promoted foreign investment in India, that we have already discussed in the features. Next point is increase in welfare of workers. Okay, this government wanted to protect the interest of laborers, enhance their welfare, and also to train them to use modern technology. Okay, so and also they wanted to ensure that laborers are equal partners in the progress of industries. Okay, so and we have already mentioned about the National Renewal Fund, which was set up to protect the interest of laborers who were retrenched because of privatization of public sector companies. Okay, so these were some of the initiatives taken for the advancement or for the welfare of workers. Then another merit of this 1991 policy is it also tried to ensure balanced regional development. Okay, that is, in this policy, special provisions were made to set up industries in backward regions. Okay, in India, we have some areas which are not as developed as other areas. Okay, our cities are growing very fast, but our rural areas or our villages are not in such a good condition. Okay, no, we are not talking about Kerala. We are talking when we talk about north countries, or sorry, north states and all, there the rural areas are not as developed as cities. Okay, I mean, not as it is like they are not at all developed. So for the improvement of such areas, such regions, government wanted the big companies to start their companies there, big business houses to start their companies in such areas. For that, what the government did is government started giving some incentives, some concessions for setting up of companies in such backward regions to ensure balanced regional growth. Okay, so these are the merits of industrial policy 1991. Next, we'll see what are the demerits of IPR 1991. First point is reduction in the role of public sector. That is, in this particular policy, the role of public sector was reduced. That is, we have opened the sectors which were reserved for public sector, then privatization of public sector units, then the closure of some of the public sector units which were sick or which were not making profit, which were incurring losses. Okay, so such activities or such measures actually reduce the role of public sector. Then another demerit is privatization will not automatically lead to efficiency. That is, actually, we when we introduced this policy, it was mentioned, or it was trying to establish that privatization will automatically ensure efficiency, or it will automatically ensure more productivity and all. That is, all the sick public sector companies were transferred to private sector, and the public sector companies shares were sold to uh, private sector or private individuals. Okay, these were all done because of the thought that privatization will increase efficiency. But actually, what happens is just privatization, just going for privatization won't increase our efficiency. That is, by doing this, what happens is instead of public sector companies, private sector companies will be having monopoly in certain sectors. That is, when we reduce the role of public sector companies, or when we open sectors which were reserved for public sector to private companies, what happens is our public sector companies were not in a position to compete with these private companies, and so what happens, these private companies will start to have a monopoly in such sectors. Okay, so without proper competition there won't be efficiency. That is very clear, or we should understand that. So that is what is mentioned here. That is, only if we have proper competition, and only if we abolish subsidies, then price controls and all, which are there in the in our economy, and then we should ensure that our economy is exposed to the global competition. All such things can ensure efficiency and not just privatization. Then next point is concentration of economic power. That is, now we have made so many measures to liberalize our economy. So what happens, the big business houses, they can start companies, they can expand, they can diversify, and what happens is, most of the money or most of the control goes to these big business houses. Okay, that now there is no limit for them, for their growth. So all the economic power will go to the hands of these big private parties. Okay, that concentration of economic power may not be good for the general public. The next point is adverse effect of economic sovereignty. That is, the critics of this policy say that, or they fear that excessive freedom to foreign investment. Okay, this foreign capital, we welcome foreign capital to our economy. So what happens when foreigners invest more in our country, or they have major stake in our companies? What happens is they will be having more control, or the Indians control, or our control over our industrial sector will be reduced. That was a fear put forward by the critics of this particular policy. Then another point is adverse effect on small scale industries. Sorry, before that, increase in regional imbalances. That is, some people say that uh, we we have the objective of ensuring regional balance. Okay, that is one of our objectives. But because of this policy, some measures of this policy, we increase regional imbalance. That is, now there is no need of license and all. Okay, so what happens is people tend to go and start companies in already developed regions. Okay, so as a result, the backward regions will be set apart, or the people or the private parties won't go to such backward regions and invest there. They'll start companies in already developed regions, because they don't need any kind of license for starting their business. Okay, regarding the location of project and all, there is no restriction. So this may tend to increase the regional imbalances. The next point is adverse effect on small scale industries. That is, adverse effect on small scale industries means, this NIP or IPR 1991 made all the measures, or made it open, our market is open to the big companies, or all the MNCs and all. Okay, so because of that, what happens is our small scale companies will have, small scale units will have to compete with MNCs and other big business houses. So they may not have the resources to compete with such big parties. And so finally what happens, these small scale companies, their existence itself will be challenged. Then next point is ignore social objectives. That is, this NIP has ignored the social objectives which were set by the by our 5-year plans and all. Okay, till then we were giving more importance for our social objectives, but with this particular policy, all such social objectives were discarded. That is another criticism to IPR 1991. Then the last point is increase in unemployment. That is because of the liberal import policy regarding foreign technology as well as foreign capital. Okay, so now we have a very liberal attitude towards foreign capital and foreign technology. So what happens? Naturally, capital intensive technologies might be imported, and our companies start using capital intensive technologies. So as a result, number of employees or number of laborers would be reduced. Okay, the need for number of workers will be reduced, because we are using high new modern technologies which are very costly but requires only very few people, and as a result the employment opportunities will be reduced. So these are the some of the demerits regarding IPR 1991. Usually at least one essay question will be there from this section. That is one essay question, and then short questions. Either they may be asking what are the merits and demerits of IPR, or they may ask explain IPR 1991, its features. Okay, any of these questions are usually asked. So please study well. IPR 1991 is a very important topic. Thank you.